I've got a Singer 201-2. It is in working condition. This one just came out of a cabinet, but it should really be cleaned up and serviced, so that's what I'm going to do with it. I've used some parts cleaner to clean most of the dust and debris off of the machine. I've taken the covers off the bottom gear mechanisms and got them all cleaned up. And there's still a lot of parts to take off, but I'm probably going to tackle the motor next. That'll have to be rebuilt. And all the old grease inside the motor will have to be cleaned out. This is the motor on the sewing machine that ran what most people would think perfectly fine. But I've decided to completely take the motor apart, rewire it, clean up the armature, and get all the grease out of the inside. It's packed with old grease. All the parts are dirty, so it definitely needs a rebuild even though it was running. I have all the motor parts cleaned up and new wires prepared for the motor, and all the gear drive parts over here are cleaned. This half of the motor is the electrical part, and this half is the greasy gear drive part. It's really important to keep the electrical part extremely clean. So I'll get going on putting things back together as far as the motor is concerned. Something I wanted to point out on the potted motor is these areas right here, these little pots, have grease in them, and they have a spring and a wick which pushes the grease up into these brass inserts, and that's what keeps the shaft of the motor lubricated, because this casting doesn't have any bearings. Brass is known to hold the lubricant and help to keep the motor spinning freely. New wires are soldered on back to the field coil. Test running the rewired and rebuilt motor with new grease. Got the motor all rebuilt and put back on the sewing machine. Now there's some other things I want to take care of. I'm going to remove the upper tension, take that all apart, take off this plate. I'm going to take out the bobbin, the hook assembly out of the bobbin case. And then on the back side I'll just take this plate off to be clean. And I've already got some of the parts off, the gear covers for the lower part of the sewing machine and the scroll plate. So I'll get all those parts cleaned up and then put them back on the machine. Here's some of the parts I've taken off to clean. I've got all these parts cleaned up. I've taken the upper tension all apart. There's the pieces. And I've got the bobbin case and hook assembly all cleaned up and ready to put back together. The top of the machine pretty much done. I've got the upper tension adjusted. I'm happy with that. Got the bobbin case all cleaned up. I haven't adjusted the tension on that yet. So overall the machine's looking pretty good. So the next thing I want to take care of is going to be, there goes the foot pedal. Okay, the next thing I want to take care of is getting Okay, the next thing I want to take care of is getting the grease on the gears on the underside of the machine, and then I can put the covers back on. Got the bottom of the machine all greased up, the gears, before I put the covers on. Sounds pretty good. It's been a long day. I have to wind up a bobbin. Don't feel like rethreading it, so here's a trick you can try. It's finally done. Looking pretty good. Got a size 14 needle. Oh yeah.